So this video will go over the next topic in this application build called Capture Meeting Notes to SharePoint. This book, all of these topics are available here at Gumroad, or you can look for them on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. I think it's $2.99 for the cost. Use this reference right here to find the book. So let's go ahead and update this real quick. Make sure I've got all of the table of contents. So you can see here, create the list was a video we did in the past. You can go ahead and pause this video and capture this. If you just search Google for this content right there, you'll find the video on creating the list, creating the Power App application, and now we're going to add new records to the Power App. So we're going to add an input box, configure the button, create variables, and add some text box values. So we're going to do all of that now as part of this bigger application. And you can see the additional ones. We're going to add a pop-up screen, edit the data, delete the records. We're going to save after an edit, and we're going to search. So some videos you can stay tuned for in the future. This just talks about the guide. And then this basically, we're creating a very basic application for a cell phone, for a notes application, but it goes into, as you see here with the table of contents, it goes into almost all the basic things you need to know when building an application. So this could be a great reference, and that's why we've broken it down into multiple areas. So let's go ahead and go back up. We want to go to the next topic area, which is add new records. So let's get started. So before we get started on this, we need to really, and again, if you download the PDF, the $2.99 PDF, you get all of this information plus all this code. We're going to be talking about more code in this, so you'll be able to just literally copy and paste the code. But here, let's talk about what we're doing here first. So here we're going to go to the app part of our menu, of our application, and create a pop-up record. And this is just a variable that we're going to set to false, and it's to enable us to have a pop-up screen as you're going to see here in the application. So let's go over to the application here and take a look, see what we're talking about. So if we go to app here and we go up here to on start, you can see that information that I put in, right? We're going to set this variable. Now we're setting it to false. And just to give you kind of a preview, I guess, do you see this group here? When we go to visible, do you see how it says pop new record? Do you see here pop new record? But here for this group, of course, it doesn't stay there. If we look at visible, we're going to say pop new record. So everything within here is going to be based on the pop new record. And then when you click on here, do you see how we change pop new record to true? So that's the reasoning behind what we're doing. We're going to go into that in another video. But here, we're going to just set this value, and then we're just going to do a right click and say run on start. And the reason why we want to do that, and this is an important thing to remember, is if we set a variable at the app level, that means that every time the application starts, whatever variables we've set up in here, whatever we've told it to do, it's going to run at that time. We can also set variables here on the screen, and we do that right here with on visible. So that means that every time this screen, if we had multiple screens, every time this screen is selected, then these variables, whatever they might be, will rerun. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind, but this is a variable we're doing. Let's stay on task. Here's the code. All right. And now let's enter some input boxes. So we're going to add these input boxes. I'm going to show you what they look like, but I want to walk you through kind of the screen. Again, you can look at these books and literally create this just by looking at the pictures. You don't have to read anything. But if you get the book, I give you some more details on what we're doing so you get a little more insight. But here we're just going to click on the tree view, the right tree view for the screens. We're going to insert the text box, and then we're going to rename the text box basically. And we're going to name one as text title and the other one as text notes. And you can see that right here. Okay. And we're just going to create this as a text input box. We're going to set up the values of the text input box, and then we're going to copy and paste that that information. Okay, so we're not there yet. So let's go ahead and do all of that real quick. So if we go over to the app and we click on the gallery itself, notice here that I have that little pencil right there, which is the primary screen. Notice that my little dots are all around the screen. When I click on that, notice I have dots just here. That means this is the primary area that we're working on. We can expand that if we like, and then we can copy this. So this one happens to be text title 1. And if you notice here that it says title here as well. Okay, so you want to create, that's right here, that's a text input, not a text label, text input. And we're going to create that here. And we want the default to have no value, by the way, which I don't think you can see. Oh, you can see it right here. Okay, so we want it to have no value. And let's squeeze this in a little bit. What I typically do is I create one of these text boxes, the first one, and then, whoops, I'm not in there. I gotta be in the right area. I create it inside my primary record, so you can see that I'm inside there. See the little dash, and I create it the way I want it. And then, I adjust the text here. I turn on these buttons. I make sure it's visible. I set its width and height. And I make sure it's whatever, right? And then when I'm done with it, now I can just go ahead and copy. And then if I click in that same space, I can hit paste. Now, do you notice what happened? When it pasted it, it went outside of the gallery. Do you see the gallery right here? It went here. Very frustrating. Okay, so I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go to my gallery, my primary record. Now, theoretically, I should be able to paste. If I do a Control V, it pastes. But if I do a right click and hit paste, it goes outside of it. So it's kind of buggy that way. So here's what I do. I usually, when I copy, I do Control C and then Control V, and it all works out. It stays within the gallery. Okay. The other option that you can do is just go over to your gallery right here, click on the gallery itself, and say paste. Okay, oops, gotta have the primary record. Click on the gallery, click here, now hit paste. And it still didn't do it. Oh, that's weird. I thought you could. So the best way to do this, sorry about this, is to click on it and do a Control C and Control V, and that will get you where you want to go. Then you can realign this and name this anything you want out of your list. Okay, this is, remember, the columns of your list. So here I have title and notes. I don't have many columns in here, but that's what you're naming this as. So if I wanted, I don't know, let's just name it as notes here. For example, we're just going to click on notes, and you can see it's right there. Okay, so that's where we're at there. We're going to copy and paste, set that up. Now in this step, we also need to insert a button. Okay. And we're going to configure this button as the add button. Okay, so here we want to add new records to our SharePoint environment. So this can be tricky for some people. So remember, we've created, well, actually, I need to go to that screen. All right, so we've created these two fields right here, this text note, and we're creating this as a new record. So we need to add this button right here. Now, this is all grouped together. I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but we don't have to have it grouped, but we're going to keep it grouped. But here, we're going to add this button. To do that, we're going to hit Insert, and then we're going to just search for button, and we're going to add it, okay? And it adds a button. Let's ungroup this for right now, so it makes it easier for you. Okay, so we're just going to add that button to this screen, okay? Easy peasy, right? Now we're going to add that button, and we need to add a cancel button. So the cancel button, whoops. I had this all set up so I could flip between screens. Okay, so we're going to add that button, and then the cancel button is right there. Again, we're going to insert, cancel, we're going to hit button, and that goes there. Okay, so we're going to create the button. Oops. We're going to create a button right there. We're going to call it Add Button or Add New. And then we're going to go ahead and configure that button. And then I guess we create the cancel button later. So we can put the cancel button in now if you want. But let's go back to here. And we're going to create the patch code for everything related to this Add New button. Okay, so let's walk through this on the other screen. It'll probably be easier to view there. So here's Add New. So what we're doing is we're saying I want to take any content that exists within these two records right here, and I want to add it to my SharePoint list. That's all we want to do. Okay, and we're going to do that on Select. And I'm going to reduce this again so that we can see it. I'm going to hit down. I'm going to hit Format Text and expand the bar so we can talk a little more about it. And so here we go. So the command itself is patch. So that's what you want to do. Remember, we're adding this data as new records inside of SharePoint. So we're going to have to call the SharePoint list, which is right there. That is the SharePoint list, okay? All right, so kind of follow along with me here. And again, we have the SharePoint list there. These right here are the columns, okay? This is a column in my SharePoint list, and this is a column in my SharePoint list. Okay, and so what I mean by that is this. If I go over here, this is a column, this is a column. Okay, so we have those two columns, and that's it. This is really the code to add it to the SharePoint list. Anything that's in these two things, we're going to add. Then we're going to tell it to reset these. Now remember, these are the fields in the app. Okay, so text notes and text title. Let's go ahead and take a look right there. Text notes, text title. Okay, we're going to reset those. Now this, we're going to set the pop-up record to false. And we're going to talk about this in a later step in pop-ups in another video. But we're going to just set it to false now. So that's what your text looks like, what your code looks like. All right, so that's all explained in here. Again, if you download the book for $2.99, you can just copy that and post it in and then make the changes. And you can see here I've illustrated what all the changes are that you need to make. Okay, now we need to create, I don't know why that, there we go. Okay, so now we need to add it's not create a variable, add the cancel button is what we're doing here. Okay, we're going to add this cancel button. Now we've already added this to our screen. Let's go ahead and take a look at that code, and it's right there. Okay, and again, it's going to be on select, and you see it right there, pop-up record equals false. That's all we want to do. I know we haven't talked about the pop-ups, but we're going to do that in the very next, right there, very next section, okay, of the document. So we're just going to set it to false. We've already set the variable to true, so just set it to false. It's not going to make a difference. But what that's going to do is when we set it to false is if we run this, notice here, once we click on this, then it goes back to the Notes application. Okay, kind of cool, huh? Okay, so we're going to want to set that to false is what we're doing here. Okay, so we're just going to do that, and there's the code to do that. Pretty easy. And then we're going to add some text values, right? So we can go ahead and modify the text values of these fields right here. Okay, so you can just do that over here on the side column. I put it up to 25. I can do spell check. I make sure that the mode is multi-line, okay, because this is a multi-line area. And here it's a single line, so I keep it there, but I kind of keep everything the same, and then I put in these hint text as well. Okay, so that's pretty much that. That's pretty straightforward, so adjust that, and that's it for this video. In the next video, we're going to create and add that pop-up screen, which is basically we're going to take and say when we hit the plus, we want it to cover up everything else and give us maximum space to add the new record. Okay, so that's what we're going to do in the next video. Thanks.